So I was just perusing the Brett McMurphy article that he wrote, longtime friend, former colleague, as plugged into college football sources as anybody. And the big headline here is that FSU is undesirable by the Big Ten and the SEC. Now, the SEC stuff, and I believe Brett's at the SEC Media Day, so he's talking to a lot of people there. The SEC, Greg Sankey spoke yesterday and said, we're focused on our 16 period. I'm not going to guess what happens next. We can certainly remain at 16 for a long, long time and be incredibly successful. Brett says at the top of the piece, Florida State likely will not have a spot in the Big Ten or SEC if it's successful in leaving the ACC and the ACC stays intact. Sources told the Action Network. That's the key right there. If the ACC stays intact, it won't.
No.
If and when the Seminoles break free from the ACC, their top choices would be to join the Big Ten or SEC because of the huge difference in television media rights revenue, sources said. However, there are multiple concerns about adding FSU, sources said. Those reasons include the fact that it doesn't make financial sense for either league. Quote, there's no appetite for more expansion, end quote. And FSU has shown, quote, it's not a good partner, end quote. Ooh.
Not a good partner at all, huh? Because they want what's due to them because they don't want to be screwed over by the college football committee and by ESPN. They want to fight. They don't just want to go along with it. Paul Feinbaum, which, by the way, taking shots again at FSU.
That seems to be,
I hate him.
By the way, I'm not questioning what Brett is reporting at all. He is absolutely plugged in, and these are real quotes, not made up quotes. And I don't doubt that, and I've told you this all along, the SEC does not want Florida State. This is not news to me or anybody that listens to this program. And I constantly have people, we talked about this yesterday. We would go to the SEC. I had a former Florida State quarterback who watches the show. I won't name him. We talked about this the other day. He's like, I'd love to go to the SEC. I'm like, man, I'm sorry, partner. It's not happening. It's not happening. He's like, you sure? I'm like, yeah, they don't want FSU. And I don't think FSU should want to go there because they're not wanted. You don't want to go where you're not wanted. Right? So the Big Ten has always been and remains my prediction. And I think the Noles will announce before August 15th. This is my educated prediction. We can say that. And I think, I don't know if I probably won't announce right away where they're going, but that will be a process. And it's at this point, there's a lot of chatter about the Big 12 and a private equity agreement being put together that will pay them more money and get them into the Big 12, which will get their revenues per year where maybe even more than what the SEC and Big 10 is making. Now, will that leave them a more prestigious conference? No. Will it give them more attractive home dates? No. Which is why I'd rather be in the Big 10. But it's better than the ACC, especially an ACC that doesn't have Clemson, North Carolina, Miami, and FSU. So if you read further into it, and I think it's really interesting, these questions, there's clearly he talked to a lot of people that don't like Florida State. Not a lot, but at least a few people that don't like Florida State. And I understand that because if you're in the business of, doing contracts and being an athletic director, you don't want people upsetting your apple cart. I get that. From the outside looking in, these athletic directors and officials probably look at FSU as a bad actor. But I can guarantee you this. If they were in the same spot as Michael Alford, the athletic director at FSU, they do the same damn thing. Right. If their program was getting 40 cents on the dollar what it was worth, they would do the same damn thing FSU has done. And I guarantee you that. But from the parts that they sit, whether it be, whoever Brett's talking with, they didn't want to go on the record because of the sensitivity. Totally understand that. But, again, I'll read a lot of anonymous sources and go, it's Brett McMurphy. It's true. So I just want to, and here are some of the quotes. He said, three SEC presidents recently told the Action Network they had no interest in adding FSU. That, to me, that's an absolute certainty. The Big Ten commissioner, Tony Petitti, is staying away from expansion, and we're taking Tony's lead, a source said. Added another, why would anyone want to expedite more chaos by adding Florida State? For the money. One source, however, cautioned, never say never about FSU going to the Big Ten because there could be a path if the ACC disintegrates. Quote, if the ACC blows up, who picks first between the Big Ten and the SEC? Who picks second? If there's a need and a desire to expand, you take inventory so your competitors don't get it. But the presidents and chancellors are looking for stability. Despite what the social media geniuses are suggesting, no one, the leagues, the networks, is driving expansion. I get that. But I think when Florida State becomes available, listen, I understand what these folks are saying. I get it. I'm not trying to be an FSU homer, but FSU's media rights are highly sought after, highly sought after. What you can sell, their games get humongous viewership. That's where the money lies. So does it make sense for the Big Ten to get their media rights? Hell yes, it does. The SEC, a little less so. A little less so. Because it's some, and this is the thing, you're not cannibalizing viewers in this situation, especially with the Big Ten. In other words, if FSU averages 3.5 to 4.5 million viewers per game average, obviously the bigger games get more, then you have the rights to sell advertising within those games. That's where the money comes from. So if the Big Ten adds them, that's more inventory that they're going to be selling. Now, obviously, they're going to be playing Big Ten games, but there'll be more games when you add more teams. More games means more advertising spots, more money coming in. And when it's Wake Forest, that money is minuscule. There's no addition to your pot, really. When it's Florida State, it's a huge addition. So, yes, does the Big Ten want FSU to go to the Big 12 or the SEC? No. Would the Big Ten have a bigger footprint? Certainly, they don't have a footprint in Florida right now.
None.
So, I mean, to say that they would not add value is ridiculous. It's ridiculous. It's not factual. It's not factual at all. Now, this could be the opinion of someone who's trying to crap on Florida State. I'm not doubting the accuracy of the quote. I'm just saying whoever said it is not being factual. That's not right.
Right.
So, and all this, everything that Brett is saying and these people are saying is presupposing that the ACC is staying together. On what planet do you see that happening?
I don't.
And I mean the ACC staying together with marquee programs. Because if FSU, Clemson, North Carolina, Miami leave, and I think that's a dead certainty, an economic certainty, what's left in the ACC? I can tell you it's not even worth ESPN paying 50 cents on the dollar that they're paying now. And I can guarantee you they will not pick up the option on the ACC contract if those 4 teams leave. Because it's not worth it. That ought to tell you something. Are you following what I'm saying? I hope I'm not going too far in the weeds here. Does this make sense?
It makes lots of sense, but it doesn't make sense to Paul Feinbaum, who continues to crap on FSU because he says it's North Carolina at the top. I think after that, it's a little bit unknown. There's a million different theories. Would North Carolina take someone with them, or would they just sit around? And this follows the report from McMurphy saying that the SEC or Big Ten would be more interested in North Carolina and Virginia over FSU and Clemson?
Yeah.
Does that make any sense to you?
No.
No,
And here's the reason why. Here's the reason why. And this quote is just dripping with anti-FSU sentiment.
Correct.
And I wish we had a name on it, but we don't. I bet I can. I bet I have a guess who it is, but I'm not going to say. He said,
Kirk Herbstreit.
Several sources added they weren't convinced they could, quote, trust Florida State as a new member. Anybody in this business knows why FSU is doing it. And to say, you think, what they're saying is, if the FSU got out of the ACC because they're getting 50 cents on the dollar and got into the Big Ten, and once they got in there, you think they would start bitching? No. Just shut up. Yeah. It doesn't make any sense. But this is what this person says. Look what they did. I'm going to add my stupid accent. There's no question about it.
Do it.
Look what they did. Getting the attorney general involved, accusing former ACC Commissioner John Swofford of rigging the television rights to help his son, which he did. Factual. It's factual. Accusing. It's in there. filing a suit to expose ESPN's TV deals. Wonder if this person's in bed with ESPN. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Of course they have to file a suit because you're trying to keep it secret. You got a freaking case going on here. I mean, this just drips with, I don't know what. Something the other 3 power leagues are against, by the way. Oh, really? The source said they're not a good partner. There's no congeniality. No one wants that. It's not about FSU getting out of the ACC's grant of rights. They're not a fit.
They're not a fit. FSU is not a fit. With their history of a program and the ratings showing that they are a fit. But they're not.
There's no way that person would ever put his name to that quote.
Of course not. It's like the unnamed general manager
no sack,
saying the guy is going to be a bust, but you don't know who it is.
Yeah.
I mean, it could be the mailman as the former.
No, listen, I trust Brett. This is someone, but that person, if exposed, like if we knew his name, it would take me a minute and a half to, I probably know it off the top of my head, but it'd take me about a minute and a half to find his conflict of interest and why he does not like Florida State.
Sure.
It wouldn't take long at all. Because I think any mature administrator in the Big Ten that's not at, some middling school, that's at a power school, that's driving these teams. I'm talking about Ohio State, Michigan, Wisconsin, Penn State. Any mature official would look at that and go, that's just silly. It's silly. Everyone knows why FSU is doing what they're doing, because they're getting pennies on the dollar of what they deserve to get. And as an administrator, my job is to make sure my athletes and my school is being compensated for the brand that we own. And if you're not doing that, you're doing your brand and your school and every athlete there and every administrator there and every fan a huge disservice. And if that person would like to debate me on that, bring it on. Bring it on. So you're saying as administrator, if you were in Florida State shoes, you'd be a good partner. You just sit there and say, okay, sure, we'll take 50 cents on the dollar and make sure Wake Forest and NC State and everybody else gets all our money that we're providing. Yeah, we'll just sit here and take it while, Florida gets double what we get, the Gators and, and Alabama gets double, and Georgia and all these teams that we're recruiting against. Yeah, we'll just sit here and bend over and take it. Woohoo. Yeah, sure. Okay. We'll be a good Florida State. We'll just sit here, Paul. Okay, Paul, we'll just sit here and we'll go, okay, sure, we'll take it. Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry, my own fans. I'm sorry, my own athletes, that you're not getting half of what you really should be. But Paul Feinbaum said we should just stay here and shut up. So we got to, ESPN says we should just shut up and just, let them make all the billions of dollars and we just take it. Yeah. That's what we should do.
Yeah.
Sorry, pal. No, we're not doing that. F you. No. We're going to stand up for our fans. We're going to stand up for our athletes. We're going to stand up for Florida State University and say, this is wrong. You screwed us, and we're not going to take it anymore. And if we land in the Big 12 or something, we're not going to sit here and effing take it. Okay? Paul Feinbaum, ESPN. So sick of their narratives. Sick of it.
SEC biased at its
I know the SEC doesn't want Florida State. That's not news.
Right.
I think the Big Ten does. I think anybody in the Big Ten that is, they're not good partners. You do the same damn thing. Shut up.